Hi guys, my name's James, I'm from Tizwaz Rider Training in Bournemouth, and I'm here to do a little bit of a comparison of two Lexmoto scooters that are fairly similar, although they're kind of quite different in lots of ways as well. These bikes are both owned by Tizwaz Rider Training in Bournemouth, and they very kindly lent us not only the site, but they've lent us the bikes to make this video. So getting straight into it, this is Lexmoto Urban, this is a Lexmoto Diablo. Lexmoto, a Chinese brand that we work quite closely with. We've got quite a lot of Lexmoto bikes. This is because personally I think for what you pay you get a fairly decent machine at the end of it. All I can say, we've owned this one since 2018 and it's had school use and it's still going strong. It's still on the original mirrors, so as far as I'm concerned, that and Lexmoto's warranty really is a bit of a testament to the build quality of the Chinese brands coming on in leaps and bounds. So differences between the two bikes. If you go on Lexmoto's website, the first thing that you might notice is this is a commuter scooter, and it's in the section of commuter scooters, and this is a sports scooter. I don't exactly know what a sports scooter is, maybe they race them somewhere, but apparently this is a sports scooter. So that's the first difference. Second difference is price. This is 1499 brand spankers. This is 1599, so this is £100 more expensive. Initially, I was a little bit thinking, well, why is that? But when you start to look closer at the Diablo, you can start to see where they put a little bit more effort and attention to detail in. Firstly, I mean, the styling of this machine I think is absolutely fantastic for a scooter. If I was a 17-year-old lad and I owned this, I would be the coolest kid in sixth form. From the front it looks a little bit like a Ducati. You can kind of see that they've tried to copy that, you know, Italian kind of styling, you know, with the stripe and the red and white kind of offsetting each other, even down to little details like the embroidered Lexmoto on the seat, really making it look quite nice. I'm a big fan of these vents at the back as well. I know they don't actually serve any purpose, but they do look quite cool. Something else with this bike, when I started riding it, I kind of noticed that when I was seeing reflections, you know, in cars and things, the headlights are really smart. You know, they're really nice LED running lights, and it looks a lot more premium than the money that you pay for this bike. So something else that they've done which is a little bit different to the Urban on the Diablo is the dash. On the Urban it's all analog. I mean, I like the dash on that bike. It's chunky, it's easy to read. When I've got a learner and it's their first time on a bike, you know, they can see where everything is and it's easy to get on with. The dash on this is quite nice. It's a little bit different because it's got a digital display. The speedo's analog, and then it displays some other information, you know, like the time and your fuel gauge and all that kind of stuff on the other side. Personally, I think they've got that the wrong way round. I'd much rather have, you know, my speed displayed digitally, because where these bikes are Chinese, they put kilometers an hour around the outside ring of the speedo and miles an hour on the inside ring, and that takes a little while to adjust to. I remember when I started riding on a Chinese bike, so my first bike was Chinese, I really used to struggle with that, because before that I used to drive cars, and I was used to looking at the outer ring, and now I had to sort of reverse my thinking a little bit. But having said that, I mean, in reality, if we think about the market that this bike is aimed for, it is aimed at the 17-year-olds. You know, people that are getting their first scooter, going to college, going to sixth form, you know, the younger sort of rider. And if it's your first bike, you don't know any different, do you? So you're going to have no problems with it at all. Another difference which I think, you know, really makes this bike pop, I really like this bar end. I know it's a little bit kind of silly to get a brand new bike and go, ooh, I really like this bar end, but I'm not sure what it's made of. It's aluminium or plastic or whatever, but I think that looks really quite smart on the end of the bar there, and I'd be very happy to look down at my throttle hand and see that next to it. I also really like the way that they've factory fitted a stripe on the wheel. I don't know if you can see my bike in the back of the frame, but I've put rim tape on my bike, and it's really, well, probably people are going to tell me in the comments that they can do it perfectly, but I really struggle to get it nice and round and even, and I really like that Lexmoto have put that on for you, so that way you don't have to worry about getting it all lined up correctly. And it really does make the bike pop, particularly when you go looking at the red calipers, you know, just kind of offsetting it against the black of the wheel and everything. I really think it helps it stand out as quite a good looking little machine. Now both bikes, the similarities, braking's fairly adequate on both bikes. Like I said, these are school bikes, so you know, I do emergency stops for demonstrations on these quite regularly, then get my learners to copy, so I know exactly what they brake like. They both grip pretty well, they both stop pretty well, they've both got plenty of under-seat storage. Now the engines between the bikes, I think it's actually the same engine, having ridden both of these and knowing, well, I mean, why would they make two separate engines for the same application? So I'm pretty sure, without taking it to pieces, they've both got the same lump. Just visually looking at it, it looks basically the same as well without taking any covers off or anything. Fuel wise, I'm not entirely sure how this one does on fuel. I'm not going to quote you MPG figures because I think on an engine of this size it's not really that relevant. If you put a small skinny 17-year-old on a bike like this, yeah, they're going to get loads of miles to the gallon and a lot more tank range than if you put a great big fat ass like me who weighs almost 20 stone on it. It's barely going to get, you know, half the range because I'm so much heavier and also going to give a lot more drag. So out of these two, which one would I choose? Well, honestly, probably neither. I've got a full bike license, I'll just get something a little bit bigger. I'm 6'5". I look ridiculous if I'm riding a scooter. If I was 17 and maybe a little bit smaller and looking for a scooter to get around town, go to college. If I was 17, I'd probably go for the Diablo. If I had to choose, if I had to pick a bike that I had to ride home now, I would go for the Urban. And I know that's quite surprising considering how much better this one looks, but let's just go a little bit deeper into the Urban. You might notice that the wheels are considerably bigger on the Urban. Now, bigger wheels, it makes the bike more stable. It's less tippy, so it's not as kind of agile, but these are light scooters anyway, so I don't really need it to be that tippy. But this Urban really does feel a lot more kind of planted, particularly if you're doing any sort of speed. I much prefer the dash to the Urban, on the Urban, because it's analog. I just prefer it. It's nice, it's chunky. I find it quite sort of pleasing to look at and to read information off of. Now the other reason I'd go for the Urban is ergonomics. This is probably just me being overthinking it a little bit, but if we come around and look at the Urban, we've got this nice kind of flat footboard area here. And even with great big size 13 feet like me, there is adequate place for me to put my feet. Riding this bike today, you've got this hump in the middle like a Honda PCX or something. And the problem is with that, if you've got bigger feet, you can find that you wind up not being able to put your feet quite where you want to in things. So to live with, I'd go for this one. To look at, I'd go for this one every day. Okay, so that's about all I've got to say about these two machines and why I would pick the one that's not as pretty. Go figure. I'd like to say thanks again to Steep Riders for having me and filming with me today. Thanks again for your time, Nate. And I would tell you to like and subscribe, but you're an adult. If you enjoy our content, feel free. If not, there's your choice.